Well, hello again, everybody. I hope you are all wonderful. I'm trying to record you at the same time. Ping, got it. Okay, recording in progress. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa. And we've got our first episode of Soulful Sunday with the beautiful, usual Bryce Watson, who needs no introduction on this channel. And I'm super excited to have with us Jamie Sale. Look how gorgeous you are from Canada. An ex,
I'm blushing.
an ex Olympic gold medalist ice skater. So
Yes.
I am super, super, super excited to have you. You're also involved in some scandal, and I mean, wow, you guys at the top really have all sorts of things going on. I mean, that takes grit, right? To reach the top of your game. And especially as an American or a Canadian or whatever, because you guys really are the super dominators of these things anyway. So for you to reach the top of your game, I mean, that must have taken a lot of grit and a lot of all sorts of things that you had to do. But anyway, I just want to say welcome. Thank you so much to you beautiful, beautiful ladies. Happy Sunday. And how are you all?
Good.
Doing well. Yeah, thank you. How are you?
Also wonderful. Thank you so much.
Good. Well, it's unusual to hear that right now. I feel like everyone I talk to is going through so much with physical ailments, emotional, spiritual, all kinds of things. So it's nice to hear you two are doing well, where the three of us are.
It's just living the dream, right? We're just riding the shit show wave as it comes.
Yep. We are.
It doesn't mean that every moment is stress-free or there's no challenges or nonsense going on. But, you know, Jamie, from my side, I've been teaching spiritual alchemy for 20 years now. And it really is taking that BS in our lives or the challenges and the blockages and turning it into our kryptonite.
Yes.
You know, to gain the understanding of what it's been about, why on a spiritual level we co-created with God to experience whatever that has been. It's pointless to resist what's happened. We've got to learn through what's happened. And that's when, you know, I think in times like this, you know, we kind of ease through these challenging times, which is amazing. Yeah.
It's
my friend Liz, who's a TikToker, she's a truther TikToker. And she told me once that there was a girl that had the best thing, that whenever something surprising happens or like that gut punch happens to you, instead of freaking out, just go, ooh, plot twist. Like, ooh, plot twist. Like, oh, my boyfriend dumped me, plot twist. Like, you know, like kind of have some humor about it. And I was thinking, because before we started recording, Jamie, you had a scandal happen in the 2002 Olympics that is now resurfacing 20 years later, which we believe for a bigger purpose, but ooh, plot twist.
Yeah. It really threw me yesterday when we did a show. We were recording something and I was like sitting there and Chantelle, I literally had a pit in my stomach because I grew up in Alberta, Canada, and a very small town girl, not very small town, but just, you know, very simple life. And I found myself in 2002, you know, because I had visualized myself being at that Olympics or at an Olympics, winning a gold medal. I didn't see myself necessarily as a pair skater, which is what I was in at that Olympics, but I knew one day I was going to go there. I wanted to go to the Olympics. So there I am. And I find myself after our event finished in the middle of a huge judging scandal. And it literally took over the Olympics for 6 days until the IOC forced the skating union to give us a gold medal with the Russian team. And basically to shut everyone up because it was on every talk show. We were on the cover of magazines, like it was just going crazy. And no other story had taken over the Olympics like that. And so here, my partner and I were looking at each other going, like, every time we go back to our room after each day, the 6 days, we would just look at each other and go, like, could you have like dreamt this? Like, it was just wild what was happening. Yeah. So, it was an absolute bizarre. And I told Bryce yesterday too, and I told you maybe a few times, Bryce, like, I just can't believe what we went through then and what I'm seeing now, because I woke up last January, my girlfriend, and what it was looking at a Google graph of Sweden versus, you know, a Rumble or a BitChute graph of Sweden. And it was a completely different result. So I said to my girlfriend, where are you getting these things from? And she's like, girl, you got to get off Google.
Yeah.
So I went, okay. But she sent me things, like probably 10 things a day. And it was a bit overwhelmed, but I literally clearly was very thirsty for it, because I just kept telling her, send me more, send me more, send me more. And I was a life coach at that time, because I've been retired and I got remarried and had another child, and I wanted to have a career. So I went into life coaching and neuroscience, and I wanted to learn about the brain and how I can help people achieve their goals. But I knew that trauma was a huge piece of why people aren't achieving their goals, because I also had trauma. So I was in the midst of, like, I was literally growing my business. I was doing really well. And then I woke up, and then I was like, I can't work. I can't focus. I just want to hear and listen and know. I wanted to learn what has been going on. And anyway, it's been the most incredible year for me, Chantelle. I've gone through a ton of healing. We were talking about, all the things that we've endured this last couple of years, but I have done a lot of healing this year, and it was the best decision I made. Best decision. Not working.
I would love to hear more about your story. So maybe talk us through from the beginning. I mean, who are you?
Who are you?
Yeah, who are you? Who's your mama?
Well, I was Joan of Arc.
I love that.
She froze. Oh, you both froze.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I know you're frozen like
frozen?
this. That is so cute. But no, I've done some Akashic record stuff, and I sit there with my jaw open, because I'm like, huh? But it's been really fascinating to learn about that, past lives and how it's affected us today, and what my purpose is here today. And anyway, it's been fascinating. But no, so like I said to you, I grew up here in a smaller town in Alberta, Canada. And my parents, ended up divorcing when I was 10. So I was dealing with, a single mom who was going through depression and very difficult times. So I used skating as an outlet. That was my space where I felt free and happy, and like where I could express myself. Yeah, it was like my relief. And I was made fun of a lot at school too. So I literally just couldn't wait to go skating. And I started off like most every skater does. I started off, Bryce is messing. She said, my internet is messing up. She's trying to get back in, but,
I'll check if
like, this is what we have to expect, right? Like, who knows what's coming, right? But anyway, so, then I found myself, I was in singles skating. And then at the age of 12, I got into pair skating. I was paired up with a partner, and I went to the 94 Olympics in Lillehammer, Norway. And we did quite well, but we were the third Canadian team to go. So it wasn't like, I wasn't expected to have great results. It was just go and have fun. But once I experienced that, I was like, I need to go back there, and I want to be on the top, because I always had this like fire in my belly, as I always said, with being a champion. So it took quite a while. After that partnership, it took a solid 3 years. I guess that's not a long time, but in the sporting world, like 3 years of not being at that top level, people forget about you, and they basically like, you're done. They count you out. And so when I had my comeback with my second partner, who I went to the 2002 Olympics with, it was a really big deal. It was like, okay, wow, she's back. And not just back. I was back with an incredibly dynamic partner. And I still say that he's one of the best male skaters on the planet. And I was super, like, we were born to skate together. So that's funny that, I say that because Bryce's friend Steph, who does tarot, she pulled cards on that. And she's like, yeah, the four of you, the Russians and you and David, had a contract in your past life to come and expose the skating. And so that's why, like, the Russian skater he made the mistake. And so people listening are going to go, well, that's just messed up, like, as if. But if they would have skated well, the whole scandal, because it was fixed. Our whole event was fixed. It was already going to be the Russians are going to win and the Canadians are going to be second. Before
are you guys aware of these fixings that occur?
No. Like, if you would have told me, I wouldn't have skated.
How do you know when you've got to throw your event? If you know what I'm saying? How do you know? Yes, Bryce joining us now again. How do you know when you've can win and when you must lose? Because would they not then be going up to you, hello, beautiful, so glad to have
Plot twist. My internet went out.
Bryce, you literally were frozen like this.
Well, y'all two frozen. I kept talking. I was like, oh, Jamie's frozen. I was like, wait, Shanti's frozen too. I'm like, am I talking to myself right now? That's normal.
Well, welcome back. Welcome back.
Okay. Yeah,
Anyway.
James, sorry, what I was just saying is, so you are not aware that
No.
there's any fixings going on?
No, so, but a lot of people were. Our Canadian judge was aware of it, so he stayed quiet because he knew if he spoke up about it months prior to the Olympics, that they would find a way to not have him there, because he wanted to try to come to the Olympics and see if he could like stop it, you know, from being fixed. Not that he was like, I want the Canadians to win, but his whole thing was like, why can't we just play fair? Why do you have to have this already decided? And so then I think there were a few more people kind of in my team, in the sense like choreographers and there were a lot of people that were in the know that this was a fixed event. So fortunately, we weren't told anything, because I personally, if you know my personality, like I know you see what you see, but if you know me, I wouldn't have skated. I would have been like, yeah, well, I've worked so hard my whole life. I am not coming out here just to lose tonight. Like, no way. So anyway, we skate a great performance. The Russians made one pretty obvious mistake, and then they made other little bit mistakes. And I will be honest, like we've always looked up to the Russians because they're so beautiful. Like their skating looks so effortless. They're fast. Like they have just an incredible style, very different than North American skaters. And we've always been sort of envious of their grace. So we knew we had to like skate perfect to beat them. Like we knew that. And even if they were perfect and we were perfect, they would win. Just kind of how it's always been. So anyway, so we have the skate of the night and they don't. And we end up second. And the crowd reacts like it is eerie in the arena, very eerie. And the media, you could literally feel the buzz from the media. They're all freaking out, going, what's going on? Everybody's like panicking. The poor Chinese team had to skate after us, and like they did some amazing things, but it's like nobody was even watching. So we go out for the medal ceremony, and I'm trying to, hold myself together because I am not on the right spot. I visualized myself being on top, our flag coming down the middle, crying, the whole bit. So we skate around you skate around with your flowers after, and you wave at the crowd and thank them and everything. And the French commentators from Canada came down from their booth and they said, there's a scandal. And he mentioned the French judge. So we get off the ice, and that was the beginning of the absolute shit show. Like it was just crazy for 6 days after that. Every day there was a different story. Like you say, Bryce, like the plot just thickened, actually. It didn't get really changed. But the French judge went back to the hotel. She was on our panel. There was 9 judges, and she, along with 4 other judges, that you can see that it's like the West versus East, basically. Like they collude together. So she goes back and she admits to some of her colleagues that did not do our event that she was forced to vote for the Russians. Then like 2 or 3 days later, she flips her story and goes, nope, I still think the Russians should have won. So we're all going, oh my God, like Dave and I just used to sit back and go, this is getting better every day.
It's so juicy. It's so juicy.
We were in a movie. It was like, is this for real? And again, like, I'm not some New Yorker, where I'm used to this drama and whatever, like or LA person. Like I'm from Red Deer, Alberta, Canada. Like look it up, people. It's like,
you were 24 at the time. You were young,
Yeah. And so here we are in the midst of a massive scandal. We are being pulled on every TV station, like from 4 a.m. in the morning to like 11 o'clock at night for 6 days. Our coach's wife calls and goes, get them off the TV. They look exhausted. But we were just kind of like, and kind of enjoying it too, because we would never have even dreamt that this was something that we'd be living. And from that came a lot of attention. So like I said to you, we were on like all these talk shows, Larry King, Jay Leno, Rosie O'Donnell. She wouldn't take off our Canadian clothing, like the garb, until we got a gold medal. She's like, I'm not taking this off. We were on Time Magazine, Newsweek. We got a huge endorsement deal. Like it just blew up. And then we had a really awesome, because of that story, we went on tour with Stars on Ice for 8 years or 10 years, actually. But the first 4 years were with the Russians. So they were like loving the sponsors loved the fact that the four of us that were a part of the scandal were together and skating in this, like skating in the show together. So, and we actually shared a bus with them, which was great because we got to know them personally and we really enjoyed them. But it was like at the Olympics, the Russians really didn't have anything good to say about us. And we were like, guys, like we didn't do anything. We're just sitting here politely, you know, showing up at an interview, just answering questions. But it was like, oh, the Canadians are crying and whining and complaining and blah, blah. And we're like, we are, we're happy. We don't care that we have a silver medal. They want to talk to us about things. And all we were doing was trying to make light of it. Like my partner was amazing. They would talk about, well, you know, something about, you know, the medals and stuff. And he goes, you know, it's kind of funny. All we need is a bronze. And then we've got the set. Like he was trying to make light of it all. And he goes, you know, it's really not important about what color it is or what happens in this outcome. Obviously, we just want this to be exposed, and not because we want the Russians to not win, but because this judging is corrupt.
Yeah. It's not fair.
It's not about the skaters. It's about what went on behind the scenes.
Well, and as when you watch the docuseries, you can see, and we know now that the media does a really good job at spinning narratives, right? Mm-hmm. And since the four of you were the ones people could see, it became the Russian skaters were the bad guys. But as David said in an interview, like the four of you were just pawns in somebody else's game.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yes.
Yeah. You were just there to skate.
But it was interesting how the Russian skaters, though, like we weren't saying anything bad about them, but it turned into like this battle between them and us. And we're like, guys, we're not calling you out. We know this isn't about you. We didn't know why they were attacking us in interviews, or at least saying that we were whining and complaining. And we're like, we're not saying anything. It's not us. The American media was going ballistic. So it was wild. It was wild. And so here we are 20 years later, and Netflix wants to, you know, well, it was 18 years ago when they videoed, like 18 years later. So 2 years ago now when they came, it was right before this COVID started. And they interviewed us for 5 days for this documentary called Bad Sport. There's 6 series in the Bad Sport documentaries. Anyway, and I remember thinking, well, why are they bringing this back up? But okay, it's for Netflix. All right. But then a year later, we get asked by NBC to do, again, interview us about our scandal. We're like, I know it was a big story. It changed our sport. Like, okay, whatever. But 20 years later, like, well, it's the 20th anniversary. And then we did a show with Bryce and Steph, and we pulled cards on it. And it's like all timing. Like, look what's about to happen. Look what's coming out. And here we are, like, this all is being brought up to the surface again, I think, and Bryce and Steph think, based on what we saw in the cards too, because there's so much more that is going to be uncovered from it.
I mean, if you watch the Peacock series, you're watching this and you're like, half of these characters in this story look like cartoon characters. This is wild. And there ended up being a Russian Mafia guy that was involved in this. And he, of course, is attached to what we know.
Team.
And the French. So yeah, there's that French ice dance. And I've said this before on multiple shows, as being from Georgia, where, you know, if they even say it might snow, everything shuts down because everybody thinks the apocalypse is coming, you know, so we don't do winter sports. Like, that's not a thing here. If you ask somebody about skiing, they think it's water skiing down here. We don't do that, you know, so I've never worn a pair of ice skates in my life. But I've watched all this stuff. I watched the docuseries and I just watched it on YouTube. And as a complete layman, it is obvious that their skate was technically better that night than the Russians. You see them messing up. As someone who has no idea what the hell you do in an ice skating rink, I could see. That's why you see the audience. Like, when you hear the scores being said for Jamie and David, the audience is reacting. And how those people in that room have no idea what that. They just bought tickets to the Olympics. Yeah, this is just fun for them. They're probably drunk, you know, like, but they're like, what is going on? And yeah, I always laugh when you talk about the Chinese, bless their hearts. They just kind of.
They went out and they almost executed a quad throw, which has never been done in pair skating at that time. And she landed it and then fell, but it was just like, wow. And nobody was really paying attention during their whole skate because everybody was just so like in shock. And
Why
everyone
do
was
you
talking.
think,
You could hear this buzz in the arena.
do you think, knowing what we know now,
Yeah.
and we understand they do so many psyops, they create so many psyops, literally to piss people off, to divide and conquer each other, and to get people fighting against each other. Do you think anything like that was part of the plan at that stage, or was it really just that they needed you guys to be so close together because obviously the bookies had bet that the Russians would win, but maybe not counting on the fact that the Russians were making obvious mistakes or had made some obvious mistakes. And at that level, you can't afford a mistake. And you guys had a clean skate. Mm-hmm. So I think, was it just a situation of things going wrong? Or do you think that was a planned psyop? Interesting.
Well, I think if the Russians hadn't messed up, no one would have known anything about this. So I think I think this was a God psyop. I think that God was like.
That's what I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. To bring attention. I'm interested to know, Jamie, what happened after that then? I mean, you said for the next 6 days, the media was frenetic over this. Mm-hmm. And what happened after that? And how was your life affected by that?
Oh, drastically. Because if we would have even just won outright, it would have just been, oh, great, the Canadian team won the pair skating, blah, blah, blah. It would have been just like, and we move on. Because that's what the Olympics does. There's always a new story, right? We're always seeing like someone else that's got and it doesn't even need to be the champion. It can be sometimes the 3rd or 4th place person that has a great, incredible story. But so after we were awarded a gold medal, we were now on a tour basically of just being like put up on these pedestals. Like we were continued to be on shows. Jay Leno flew us in his private plane, during climate crisis. So no, what is it called? Global warming. Yeah, but we're flying private planes. So he takes his jet and he flies us to LA for like his show and flies us back. It was just like insane what we were experiencing. I was sitting beside Charlie Sheen on the show, and so but at the time, you see these people as huge celebrities, and you're like, pinch me, like this is crazy. I get into his studios and I see my name on his door, Jamie Soleil and David Peltier, and I'm just like, holy shoot! Like we felt like rock stars. And then we signed a really great long-term touring deal with Stars on Ice, which was amazing. Like that was my dream come true. So our life actually was better because of the story versus winning outright. It still would have been amazing to win, but as we are right now, ladies, just going with this whole, we're riding the waves of this, we're living. We rode the waves of what was happening. And instead of like crying about it and being totally upset about it, and when things would get presented to us, we just went with it. And we looked at each other and we said, you know what, we're proud of what we did. We have to keep our heads high, just be, as we'd say, Canadian, right? Like just be positive. We're the nice people. Yeah. So we did that and it worked out well for us.
So why do you think 20 years later, this little situation is showing its head again?
It's like somebody infiltrated. Even the Peacock one is interesting to me. I know that Tara Lipinski it's her husband that produced it. And, they're like, well, it's the 20th anniversary of the Olympics. I go, so why is it important now and not like the 10-year anniversary year? Like, I just was like, well, why 20 years? Then I realized, oh my gosh, well, we're in the middle of a great awakening here and everything's getting exposed. So we put it together in that show. You can talk about it more, Bryce, because you're really into this now. But
okay. So as I said, when I met Jamie, I did a total deep dive and watched everything. I was laughing, saying, if you need a layman to commentate on these things, I'll come do it. But I don't know the words for, I'll be like, look at that costume, look at it spinning, but so what was fascinating to me as someone who is awake, that there's always I think none of us are told, we still have more surprises around the corner, but there's always more to the story. And like you were saying, Shanti, I don't believe that what happened with Jamie and the Russians was the psyop, because if the Russians had not messed up, no one would ever know that this had happened. There
was a fix. Yeah. They wouldn't
there
know
was
there
a
was
fix.
a fix.
So I believe, and we got in the cards that the four of them, the Russians and Jamie and David, all had a soul contract that they were going to go through this together, the four of them.
Love it. Of course it would be. Of course it would be a soul contract. I think it's amazing. And here it is coming again, you know, as you say, the Great Awakening, and poof, it's out again.
On a silver platter from Peacock, Netflix. Well,
Thank you, Kara.
Yeah. I mean, so you think about, so what had happened? What happened was there's, the figure skating, and then there's the ice dancing. So these are two skating teams that don't compete against each other. They're different categories, right? So the dancers don't throw people, where you guys are throwing, right?
And
you're flying.
Throws, jumps, and more exciting, I think.
Yeah. The real where you, are they going to break their, So the
ice dancing is like dancing on ice. It's just, they stay low. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah. So there was this French ice dancing team where the female was actually Russian, who had become French to dance with this French guy. And she was connected to the Russian Mafia dude, whose business, we'll just say one of his businesses allegedly is children. But leave it at that.
Moving children around.
Yeah.
Child transportation.
Yes. And he was responsible for setting up the fix so that because there was a French judge for them on their panel, and there was a Russian judge on that panel for the ice dancing team. So they swapped to make sure that you get my French people with my Russian girl on the gold medal, we'll get your Russians on the gold medal over here.
Yeah.
And so they go through this whole Peacock documentary, and at the end they're showing recordings between the female athlete on the French dancing team and him, and then they just drop it.
Yeah. And it's not talked about.
They don't even talk about the French team. And so we were like, what the hell are they covering up? What is going on with this French ice dancing team that no one wants to touch?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Allegedly for entertainment purposes only. We'll say
I was literally yesterday doing that show with them. I was like sitting there going, girls, I have so much emotion right now. I have a pit in my stomach. I want to be sick, but I'm like laughing. I'm sad. I'm happy. I'm like, I was so weirded out. I'm just like, I just want to be that little girl from Red Deer again.
Yeah. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once that innocence is gone. Yes. And we said yesterday too, and I just want to make this clear because again, I'm a layman as well. I think when we see these athletes, we see the athletes on the ice or on the field or whatever, and we see them as their team. But you guys have so many people around you that are part of this team. And so when we talk about the French ice dancing people, we're not specifically just talking about the two of them. They have other people around them so I don't want to put blame on any of the athletes because we don't know for sure. It could have been somebody around them that's also involved in this, that their two could just be pawns. But it was interesting that Peacock did not.
That's the crazy thing. But I'd be interested to know, Jamie, also from what you're saying, we know like a lot of the top athletes are very much bought by the Cabal. Yeah, and they often partake in some very dodgy rituals and things. I'd be interested to know from your experience, what did you, and also you must have known the Tonya Hardings of the world, right? And I'd love to know some of the interesting people you've met, some stories you have to tell about. I mean, listen, what was it? Tonya Harding that hit the one's knee or something? It
was they had hired someone allegedly, right, to hit Nancy, to take her out. Right. Yeah, that was my 94 Olympics. Was that
she was there too?
Well, that was when that happened. It was 94.
In 94, that happened. 2002, the rest happened. I mean, this is like lots of shenanigans going on there. I'd love to know that. So,
well, I have a question for you, Shanti, because I on that note about athletes that are basically cabal, it's very confusing to me because we were amateur athletes, and I know that what happened with sports was, and then they started allowing. So in 94, we were all amateurs still. Like even the hockey was. Well, then all of a sudden they started bringing in for money, pro sports like basketball got into the summer games. And then the NHL got into our winter sport. And don't get me wrong, it's super entertaining, right? Like we all love these athletes and whatever, but it became sort of amateurs and professionals at the Olympic Games. And not in every sport, but as for me, I was still an amateur athlete. And I like to think that a lot of the amateur athletes don't have a freaking clue what goes on under the ground.
Wouldn't that be where they identify them and then would start grooming them after that?
Well, that's what I'm starting to ask. Like, I'm going, when is it that they get these athletes? And like, I've even seen in the pro world, like golf and basketball, they're like totally, it's like they're either cloned or they're this. You hear these stories and you're just like, what? Like, that wasn't my world when I was competing. So I'm learning all of this stuff, or even just that they, like you said, they've been raised by handlers and basically cabal. And I'm just sitting here, my head is just spinning because we've idolized these specific golfers or basketball players, like thinking like we put in them like, right? Like, wow, they're so amazing. And meanwhile, they're just like, it's.
What's like, the lifespan of so like, and this is kind of how I see it, because I agree with you. I think for most Olympiads, I would guess that maybe their lifespan of their sport is maybe 2 Olympics, possibly 3, before they've aged out or before there's a younger
enough. Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of how I see it in my head. Like with the pro athletes, like the basketball players, the people that play not just in the Olympics, but all year long, they're a different group than the people who are just in the Olympics. And I feel like this sinister group of controllers, they're not just passing out this drink, we'll say, in the locker room as a party favor because people would squill.
Never
they have
even heard of it.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
I don't know if they might be looking for people at the Olympics, but for most of the athletes, I think they wouldn't even bother with that stuff with them because they know they're going to age out soon. They don't have blackmail on them. Does that make sense? Like, to me, it just seems like they're looking for specific people they can carry up into being, on the Wheaties box and being the Kobe Bryants to have that influence,
That's what I was going to say. It seems to me like they would definitely, if I look at the basketball players, the American basketball players, I would imagine that some of them may have been groomed from when they were teeny tiny tots already, but it would seem to me that they would then, as obviously watch the sporting results from high schools and stuff like that, and then give scholarships to certain athletes that have certain talents, and then they would start grooming them. I think they make us hungry. They've understood the human weakness called greed. Yes. And they would groom and start making, and especially because, how many stories don't you hear that these black dudes, these very tall basketball players that come from, I don't know if it's called the hood or whatever.
Yes.
They're taken from nothing and suddenly they're given
stars.
Yeah. How many kids are going to say no to that, especially when there's been that hunger? So this is a very clever ploy, this, I see as well. So I would imagine definitely from, as you say, the amateur sports, like the amateur Olympians, you guys would be watched and you would be, and the fact that your events are fixed, even if it's an amateur event, it's still fixed. It means that there's something going on there. If the freaking Russian Mafia is involved, something's going on. If the Paris dancing team is involved, something's dodgy.
You can't help but laugh about it because it's like, I think what's so relatable about Jamie and David, especially as a Westerner, is that I think most people can relate to them because they grew up like most of us grew up, and they just worked their butts off and they got to the Olympics. It's like the American dream, and then all of a sudden.
One would hope that it would be the way we all think it is. You have these beautiful people that have just worked their asses off and they
and there's the Russian Mafia.
That's exactly our response. We're like, Russian Mafia? What?
Like what? And you said that you weren't aware. Were you aware at the time that you had to have protection because you got threats?
So that was the other thing, Shanti, we had protection following us everywhere. We didn't know at the time. We were told afterwards because they didn't want to scare us. But I was like, because our agent also at the time he was American or is American. And he came down, he wasn't allowed to come downstairs in the skating arena. He was up where everyone else is. And somehow he found a way to get a penny, like one of those, like, what are they called, Bryce? Like those what crosswalk people wear to be seen kind of thing. Like it's a bright, anyway, he came down with a shirt on and this special thing. And we're like, what are you doing down here? He goes, I don't want to scare you guys, but there's word that something bad's going to happen when you guys, all 4 of you, go out there for your medal ceremony. We just about pooped our pants. Like we were like, you're telling us that now and you want us to go out there? Like we're going to get shot in the head? Like JFK style here? Like what?
Wearing a bulletproof vest.
Anyway, I literally just actually saying that, I get feel a little weird. And I just remember being really quite nervous. And then after that, every time we would drive to the media conference center, or we would go somewhere for an interview, we were followed. Like they were following us to protect us.
You're like, I just want to skate, man. Like, I just want to skate. Like,
yeah, like, exactly.
Actually, we were like, can we just go watch events? Because we're like Olympians that just want to watch other people and cheer our teammates on. Like at some point it was getting crazy that way too, like enough already. But we were advised that it would be best for us to show up when they are asking all of us to speak, like do interviews. We said, okay, but we can't just only do that. Like we still want to enjoy the Olympics. But we were advised that if you don't go, then they're going to make up stories about you. So it's like better to be seen and just sit there and smile and say nice things than not going. So we were the only ones that ever went. The Russians never showed up. The Chinese never showed up. We were just like sitting there like.
Talk about these guys trying to do damage control afterwards, right? I mean, yeah. Suddenly a little explode.
Do you know what just hit me too?
What?
You were in Salt Lake City, correct?
Yep.
Well, what's one of the biggest religious institutions that's now known for helping in the we'll say the carpool of kids?
Mm-hmm. I didn't know this until I woke up, right? So you go down all these rabbit holes. And yeah, and I also want to make people aware that, you know, we've watched opening and closing ceremonies of Olympics, and Bryce and she's made me aware of like, okay, questioning things like, what is that about? What is that about? I mean, I remember one of the opening ceremonies that or closing, actually, we were there. And I remember seeing like, they had this huge dark entity, like a huge thing that was in the air and it was black. And then there were all these hospital beds all over the floor with like, but you watch these, you watch these.
Which one was that? I saw a video of that. Which one was that again?
It was London 2012.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, sorry, we weren't at that one, but we were at one in Torino, and it was. I remember sitting in the stands watching it, going, "What is this? Like, what is this about?" Because you always just think that these ceremonies are just really creative and very inventive, like innovative. Sorry, and you don't really challenge it. You just kind of sit there and go, "That was different."
It was artsy.
It's artsy. So now go back and start watching opening and closing ceremonies, and for the people that are awake to all this, and you're going to see signaling. You're going to see lots of things.
It is horrendous. It is horrendous.
And all these athletes are there and they have no idea. Like we're all just in this. It's like they're using us to harvest our energy, or I don't know what's going on, but like
harvesting energy for sure.
I went back and watched the Atlanta. I was 13 when the Summer Olympics came to Atlanta, and it was a big deal. Like it really did change the city of Atlanta. And we went to a lot of events. But I went back and rewatched the opening ceremony. I sent it to you, Jamie. I was horrified. I was like, what the fuck is this? I mean, it was like Eyes Wide Shut music. This is before Eyes Wide Shut came out. And these like beings were coming out of the stadium. I was like, oh,
Bryce's commentary. What is this? What is this?
What is this? Like, and what does this have to do with Atlanta? Like, you would think they do go into Atlanta stuff, but it's like, oh, like, and I even like tagged my mom on Twitter. I was like, Mom, you and Dad watched this with us. Y'all didn't think this was weird? I think they probably just thought, oh, these are just artists.
It's exactly, I hear what you're saying. And I think that has been the situation with every single thing, with all the signaling going on. There have been many a times I'd look and I go, what?
Yeah.
That's crazy. The average person does not make the connection until you've started going down these rabbit holes. Mm-hmm. And then you start seeing. So, this is why I say, for me as well, that dawn, I mean, I've always considered myself awake. even as a little tiny tot, because like you, I was born clairvoyant. So I was, but it got me very frustrated as well, because people were telling me I was a child of the devil and Jesus doesn't love me. And so it got me like very, very mad, you know. So my experience around that was that I had to resist the masses around my gift, if you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
So I think that especially in the last 2 years, in the last 18 months since we've had this channel, you know, putting information out there, showing people what is going on, you know, there was definitely a stage where I was frustrated by the amount of ignorance in my perception going on there. But then remembering as well, you know, it came to me in a meditation not too long ago. I remember myself very well walking around with eyes wide shut. But I have to say, the thing with myself is when someone presented me with something like this, there was no ways I told that person they were lying. It was, oh my gosh. I knew it was true. There was no lies or denial or whatever. And I think that where we're at right now is going to be the thing that we've got to do, because it really is just about people waking up. And
I think, Jamie, we got this in the cards, and I've always kind of suspected this as someone that's, I feel like I've known you, Jamie, and Shanti for many lifetimes. So, you know, it's been 20 years, and out of the 4 of these people that we're focused on, Jamie is that we know of is the one who's awake. And we got in the cards that she karmically went through this so that she could be a voice.
Absolutely.
When this comes out, and you know, Jamie's just this beautiful soul. She has these beautiful children, and she has a way of saying things that are rough, but in a very compassionate and loving way. And I was thinking about this last night, about things like the Olympics and how 99% of the people there are there for fun. They're there to have pride in their country. The athletes are representing them from their country. And if we actually bring back things like the Olympics and the new timeline, but with no sinister stuff, for the good, like how powerful that would be for humanity, that vibration of people loving each other and supporting each other, how that can be such a powerful thing for humanity, because 99% of the people who are involved in Olympics, that's what they think they're doing anyway. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, isn't that the way it's meant to be? A whole bunch of athletes that have worked their asses off for the past 4 years, coming together, competing with each other. And at the end of the day, having a beer, whatever it is they do together, you know, and just enjoying the fact that we fellow humans from different countries, and we're all just enjoying our sport. And for me, that's the way I've always seen it. And it's just disgusting that every freaking thing has been contaminated by these.
Taken from us. It's been taken from us.
Well, I'm going to say something maybe a little out there, but my girlfriend was years ago, like 15 years ago, was into listening to the Peas CD, like the Pleiadians. And is that something we can talk about?
Yeah, I think Off-Worlders is fine. Yeah.
Well, just even like there was a lady that channels them, right? So anyway, but she just said that they had said, I think so. I don't have her CD. I've got it. Yeah. So she said, what they explained was they've created sports and entertainment to basically kind of dumb us down in that sense for the watchers, like the observers. The athletes themselves obviously are super active and fit and healthy and whatever, but the people that are watching, it's like exactly what you just said. You know, we plop ourselves down on the couch. Like, think of all the men that literally have put on like 50 pounds, 20 pounds, just sitting on the couch, drinking beer and watching their sports, right? Instead of being like evolving into stronger men, more evolved men and whatever. It's like,
that's exactly it. That word
keeping us down.
Yeah.
That's exactly, sorry to interrupt you, Jamie, but as you said that word, it just struck a key with me. Yeah. It stops our humanity. It stops humanity from evolving. That's exactly what it is, because you sit, as you said, becoming a big fat couch potato, drinking beer, eating tacos or whatever it is, throwing things at the TV. And as you say, becoming a big, and not partake in yourself? Why aren't you building yourself a little basketball field or whatever outside and having the neighbors' kids play and start
Like
your own little team,
Yeah.
neighborhood team, get the
Yeah.
kids involved, and instead of sitting watching, get involved, do something.
Yeah.
Which might be where the Olympics comes back into play, because I feel like with the Olympics, because it only happened like every 4 years or so, it was an event instead of a weekly occurrence, right? And I know like for some people, like after an event, the kids get excited and they watch the gymnastics and they want to go do it, and and you see, I remember in Atlanta, the Carrie Strug thing happened with the vaulting for the girls gymnastics team, where she like did something major to her ankle on her first vault. I don't remember what she did. And the second one, she did it and she landed it with a extremely damaged. And the fact that she could do, the human body and mind can actually do that is incredible. Yeah. And it inspired people to go and like get active. And I know, Shanti, we've talked that about a lot with exercise, like what you learn when you start to like move your body. I know, Jamie, like the fact that you, first of all, could trust your partner enough to allow him to throw you in the air, like and flip around.
So much respect. I mean, honestly, my mom especially, we would sit and watch you figure skaters and go, wow, there is nothing more beautiful than your art. Honestly, I have to tell you that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it is so beautiful, so graceful.
Thank you.
So,
I'm just really curious though, as with what we're talking about moving forward into, I call it Earth 2.0, like what this will look like for the sporting world, because they, you also hear like they've created all these activities and like because what we've become as parents is like literally the kids are like, we've been told we're over scheduling, like we're in a rat race. And like I have a lot on my mind right now and I can't get it out properly, but what I'm saying is I wonder if the level of the sporting level that we see today will be there in Earth 2.0 too, because there's an aspect of it that's unhealthy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we love watching the Olympics, we've loved watching these athletes, but I'm almost wondering if that's really, because we talk like, oh, we were here to evolve and to achieve and to this, but then you listen to like the spiritual gurus and they're all like, no, like we are not meant to be doing that. So I'm kind of confused, like what was created to, like, again, dumb us down, keep us suppressed. But yet as an athlete, I wouldn't have guessed that I was suppressed, right? Because I was pushing myself, but I don't know. I don't even know what I'm asking. I'm just.
Well, the light, everything we have in existence was created by the light. And the darkness took it and inverted it. So I think we're gonna, and I agree with you, because even from when I was in high school till now, I mean, kids are being overworked and they're doing that intentionally to raise their stress hormones. They're not finished developing. And so they're in these really high, intense stress situations, trying to get into college, do every sport under the sun, and I remember even as a kid, like when I was growing up, you would do sports because your parents wanted you to learn how to get along with other people. Like there was more moral lessons involved than anything to learn how to work with other people in a team. It didn't matter if you won or lost, just have fun out there, but now. And so maybe that will be someone like you, Jamie, like athletes that have had these high pressure experiences to come back and say, okay, let's restructure this. Let's figure out what's healthy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
there is no doubt in my mind that that's why this is happening. Shema, do you need to go?
Sorry, my daughter's just screaming. I don't think she knows I'm still doing this, but mom. Sorry, I'm trying to be like discreet here. But it'll be interesting to see because like I asked my girlfriend, I said, how do we go backwards now? And because even like they're saying electronics won't be a thing, because the P's have always said, like, again, look what that's done to all of us. We're addicted. It's brainwashing. It's like messed us all up. Like we would be lovely to get rid of all these things that have harmed us, which without even really seeing it. It's just a slow, manipulation on us.
I really think, honestly, at the end of the day, it's about spiritual intelligence versus artificial intelligence. So for me, everything that they are putting out there is artificial intelligence. Yeah. Now, we know that these guys are very, very clever. And also they've learned how to harness energy. They've learned how to read the frequencies. They've understood all about they know exactly how to split energies. So they're very clever in the way they do it. So therefore, when we look at, and again, it's internal versus external. So they are looking at creating faster, bigger, more powerful, faster, bigger, so and that's why now they're building robots to emulate humans. But honestly, when we as human beings understand that the answers are not lying there, the answers lie here. And when we go within and we connect with our spiritual intelligence, which is our God-given magic, right? I'm because there's nothing short of the word magic. When you tap into that, you understand the true meaning of the word magic. And I'm not talking about a witch going hubble, bubble, toil and trouble. I'm talking about aligning with that. You can achieve anything. You understand with yoga, and this is what I love about yoga, because yoga, you connect with the power of your mind. I have seen some obese yogi instructors, teachers, women who are really would be considered obese, and that is not a criticism. I have seen these women rock more moves than what I ever could. I am telling you, it is something that is here, and it is something that is here. When we understand and we start lifting our vibration and start tuning into the power of God, and I'm not talking in a religious nut sense.
No,
I'm talking in a spiritual understanding. Our body, it becomes lighter, faster, leaner, more in tune. Maybe we won't need to compete with each other anymore. Maybe we'll just enjoy expressing our uniqueness in another way. So that's, for me, I just got a goosebumps there. Yep. We will all be joining and expressing our uniqueness. So yes, absolutely. Yes. I'm a tennis player, or I was. If I'm playing tennis against you, so you'll beat me in points, but I might have a much more fluid style that you enjoy to watch, Yep. So what is it? Is it all about the points, or is it about the style? Is it about the game you're watching? What are you learning from? Exactly. And what are you learning from each of the individual players or participants? That for me is what it is. It's like this whole orchestra of beings coming together, all expressing ourselves uniquely and individually, and all dancing in this beautiful dance of love and light and unity. That's what it is for me. So it's not about competing and making us feel like, well, if you came third, you're like useless because you didn't come first. Well, that is such nonsense. It's like, wow, check and you might be much better at long jump or high jump. So you've got another area, but you still enjoy running, So whatever. I just think we're all going to be able to learn. When we tune with ourselves, we learn to love ourselves, appreciate ourselves, understand ourselves, not beat up on ourselves, but work with ourselves and assert what we want to, as opposed to push.
Well, it's like children. If a child feels burnt out and doesn't want to do a sport anymore, like I know there's so many parents that are helicopter parents that will push them to keep doing it, but to listen to them when they say, I don't want to do this. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, you're done. I was thinking we were saying that, like, if Jamie, if you are part of the rebuilding team of getting sports back out there once we clean up the mess, we should find the Chinese couple and let them skate for the world.
I know. I really felt bad for them. I did.
Bless their hearts.
I know. Bless their hearts.
Let them just
yeah. Shanti, before I have to sign out here soon, but I wanted to share with your audience that what was really amazing for me, and I'm changing subjects here, but through my awakening, and I spent about 9 months really diving into healing and working with many different people and treatments. And it was January, like a year later after waking up, that I was like, I got this download again, because I was connecting myself to source even more and God. And I was like sitting there one day and it was go time. I got told it's go time. You're ready. Because I wasn't ready to speak out the year before, because I was being gaslit, ridiculed. I was going through a divorce because of personal reasons, but being on different pages through this really just put me over the edge. And I know many people have experienced this in their relationships. And my son was on my side until he went to school, and then he got pulled to the other side, if we want to talk about sides. Now I'm crazy and I'm a lunatic. And my best friend circle told me I was a risk to be around because I didn't want to get the jab. And I'm supporting a white supremacist community. Okay. So I was going through all this really icky stuff with people. And I was going, I got to find a different community. I got to find like people who are awake and people that think like me, because I knew that you guys were all out there. So I just like dove into listening to things. Anyway, so January was like, okay, it's go time. You start speaking out. So I did. And I got annihilated. Like I just got hammered. And then I felt kind of sick. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this even the right thing to do? And then I kept getting told, keep going, just keep going. And I didn't really understand that entirely, but it was like, just keep going. So, okay, I keep going. And in that time, I decided I've been on Synthroid for my thyroid not my whole life, obviously, maybe 10 years now. I was told I'd never get off of it because my thyroid's underactive. I'm like, I'm getting off of this. Because again, just through all this healing, I'm going, they've told me this, but I don't believe that. So I got off of it. I took, iodine and natural supplements. And then my trainer says to me one day, well, you know what? He looks at me like this because he's very evolved. You know why your thyroid's healing, right? And I said, well, no, but he goes, because you're speaking your truth.
Absolutely. Wow.
And if I had stayed in that marriage that, there were issues, but people hold on to things when you're going through shitty times, right? So you hold on to something just because it's comfortable. If my son was uncomfortable with me saying things and watching things, he was super uncomfortable with it when he went to school. He's like, oh my God, Mom, you can't be watching these things. Don't talk to me about stuff, whatever. I wouldn't have been able to speak. I wouldn't have been able to say what I thought. I wouldn't have been able to share my belief system, like any of this. So I'm 4 months now, no meds. Yeah, I feel great.
Isn't that just so amazing, Tia? Because Bryce, just a couple of weeks ago, you and I were doing the chakras, and we were talking about the throat chakra, and one of the issues is the thyroid. When people have thyroid problems, you got to know that that's because you are not speaking up, you are holding stuff in.
Yep.
So this is a beautiful, typical, such a fantastic example about how your body heals itself. When you do the things your heart is inspiring you to do, and you follow that and you act on that, that's when the healing occurs. Healing occurs of itself. You didn't have to go and have it cut out or fixed or medicated to the hilt or now
have treatments to it. Like there's all these treatments out there that they can do this, and then it's probably great. But
just speaking your truth, that's all. Anyone with thyroid problems out there, please sit with yourself and your creator and meditate. And ask what it is that you need to say. Start writing a journal. That's the first thing. Get a journal. Just start putting it down on paper. That's your first step.
And working through your trauma. Like the best advice I got was, when you get triggered, that is trauma. Right? Like, why am I getting triggered to someone doing this? Well, because when I was younger, I was made fun of. So naturally I'm defensive when this happens. So I worked on my traumas. And a lot of us, we've been conditioned to suppress all this because it's like, right? We just push it aside. We need to deal with that right now. And so we're watching, society have massive addiction problems, and whether it's even just shopping addictions, right? Like we're trying to find these coping mechanisms.
Food addictions.
Food, everything, you name it.
Any addiction. Well, and any addiction is really, think about what an addiction is. It's a hole that we can't fill. Anyone who's been addicted to anything understands what that feels like, whether it's alcohol, whether it's sex, whether it's pornography, whether it's sweets, whether whatever. It's that hole that can't be filled.
Yeah.
So any addiction is saying not enough, not enough. So when you go a few little layers deeper, it's where do you not feel like you are enough?
Mm-hmm.
You see, then that's the question you put out there for yourself. Where do I not feel enough? That's all you do. And it's not, where do I not? You don't scream and shout at yourself. You literally ask yourself the question very nicely, very beautifully, where have I not felt enough? Question mark. Get up, go and tap your bath or have a tea or go to bed or whatever, and then start writing.
Yeah.
Just that is opening up a little pathway that is really taking you down a very powerful healing path. And you're going to see it's not just the writing that's going to bring you enlightenment, but suddenly your energy starts changing when you do that, which means you now start attracting different experiences. You start feeling different. You start feeling more energized. You start feeling more peaceful. You start feeling more at ease. You start feeling more healthy. It's just something that happens. And then you start acting in accordance with that feeling. And that's when you start attracting the new experiences that
like this.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I keep telling, and I'm going to say this again. I've said this till I'm blue in the face, but Jamie is one of the blue check mark people. She already had a platform. She already had fame. And for her to be able to stand there and the blue check mark people like her, Sean Stone, all these people, they have taken a lot of arrows and bullets for my platform was based off of this. So I don't get it as much as Jamie does. And so you guys go follow her on Twitter.
Yeah, it's nothing special, but you know what? I'm just trying to enlighten people and share and give information because it's all been censored. Yeah. It's all been censored. And so we're simply just trying to let the other people see this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're gonna please send us your links to all your platforms, whatever it is, your Twitter, I don't know, whatever else you might have. We're gonna put it down there. Guys can start connecting with you. I think, I just feel so good about what this is, Jamie, because to me, it just feels like there's a whole new avenue of healing that's going to open up here. You know, when at youngsters that have been in the sports world, maybe had crap happen to them, that can start coming forward and start stepping up and speaking. I would love to hear from you guys. Maybe what we can do is if there's anyone out there who's had experiences in the professional sport industry world, you got a story to tell. Maybe we can do it with you guys again on Soulful Sunday. That's why we have Soulful Sunday. You guys are my first two guests on Soulful Sunday.
Awesome.
And Jamie, I know people tell you this all the time, but when somebody that they've looked up to as an athlete or celebrity speaks up and they're feeling that too, you inspired them to also speak up. And so I really, it makes me like all you guys who had a platform that just did it anyway. Like you guys are the true heroes. You're the true badasses, the true warriors.
I know I'm protected because I see lots of great numbers, like 222, 33. I see like all these numbers and I know I'm protected. And God was telling me literally like, it's go time. You're ready. And there's a reason why I got that message. And I have never been into this kind of like, as much as I've been clairvoyant my whole life, I didn't really understand all of this spiritual stuff, but I get this like in my head, it's go time. Okay. And then keep going. But while it was like, keep going, I also got stay still, like be still. Don't move out of your house. Cause you're going, I'm going through a divorce and I should downsize my house, but stay still. Yeah. And anyway, it's been so powerful for me. And I'm like, people listen to your intuition, listen to those thoughts, that voice, whatever that is.
That's the voice of God. Your intuition is the voice of God. That's your superpower. Yes. Really.
Superpower.
It just makes me smile because you like your life. You watched, she was a skater. She was going to be this Olympic athlete, and God's like, ooh, plot twist. She has no idea.
Plot twist. Here we go.
This is just the beginning. Yeah. This is just the beginning for you, honey. So it's exciting. It's so exciting.
I'm super grateful that I got to meet you, Shanti. You're just an incredible human being. Like, wow. Bryce was telling me all about you, and I was just like, this is such an incredible experience for me. So, and I've told Bryce this, but thank you, Shanti, also for doing what you're doing, because it is people like you that have kept us going. And you've given me courage, all of you, the real truthers that are out there. You've given us the courage to speak up and keep going as well, as much as we hear these downloads. But without you guys doing this first, you're the pioneers of this. You're the brave, brave, brave ones. So thank you.
We're all family. We're all on the same battlefield together. We laugh about the 4 of them having a soul contract, but in reality, all of us have a soul contract to get all of us. So
yep,
I don't know if the Russians know that or not, but
nope, no, they don't.
So,
but yes, thank you so much. And if it's okay, I'm just going to have to say goodbye to everybody, and I hope to see you again, Chantelle, and we'll connect for my daughter and stuff.
And yes, we are going to sign off now as well. I know you have to sign. So thank you so much. No, you're welcome to go. We're just going to
okay.
Yeah, and I definitely will have you on. And again, I like you're awesome. You're amazing. You got lots to share.
You're amazing.
So look forward to having you on again. Going to chat with Bryce again so we can arrange that. Most definitely got some amazing ideas that are just clicking through. Yeah. So look forward to having.
I love all of you. Thank you so much.
Take care. Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Yeah, wonderful. Wow, what a great, amazing woman.
Isn't she awesome? I mean, it's like you. When I met you, Chantelle, I was like, oh, I've known this chick for a long time. Like, this is not our first rodeo. And Jamie DM'd me on Twitter. And when I opened, I was like, who is this blue check mark? Who is this celebrity DMing me? And the minute I spoke to her the first time, I was like, oh, I know her. I know nothing about figure skating, but I know her. Yeah. We've all done this before. This is not our first rodeo. And, you know, she's.
I remember that story as well, that 2000, I mean, I don't know if it's 2002, but I remember the Russian American figure skating, because I've always watched this, the figure skating would be the one thing I'd watch at the Olympics, is the skating.
Yeah. Well, it's because it's a performance too. That's what draws people in, because they are not just only athletes, they're performers as well. And I will tell you guys, go and watch. It's on Netflix. It's called Bad Sport. And if you are an American, I don't know if Peacock might just only be in America, but if you have Peacock, there's a 4-part series where they go into so much detail about this scandal that happened. And I really, in my heart of hearts, I believe that God is using Jamie, and he's going to be using Jamie in a very powerful way when it comes to this area of our world, because out of the 4 of them, she's the one that's speaking up. And so,
and on behalf of the sports people, I just feel like, you know, as we were speaking with her, that's what I said, just like she's opening up the door for so many sports people to step out and tell their stories.
There's a power in numbers, and that's and for her, I mean, you guys go follow her on Twitter, because we know that, well, now Twitter's not as bad, but we know that these people like Jamie, who had the blue check mark, who were already considered celebrities, when they started going against the narrative, they got so much abuse back. And so that takes a lot to go through that. And so guys, go follow her on Twitter so she feels your energy there, because we really, as Ram Dass says, we are all just walking each other home. We're all walking
following on Twitter as well. In fact, Mornay, I think you can put my Twitter handle on here as well, my personal Twitter account. Please, Mornay, thank you.
We love Mornay. We missed him this morning, but
Bryce, I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.
Yes. Oh, yes, that's tomorrow. Tomorrow's the day. Yes, I actually just emailed Mornay a video clip for our presentation tomorrow. So
oh, exciting. I'm so looking forward to that. So thank you so much, beautiful, for joining me again. Are you like part of this already? I don't know what I'll do.
I love it. We're all part of it.
Exactly. Guys and girls, thank you so much. As you can see, it's Sunday. I was actually taking a nap. I keep looking at myself thinking, oh my goodness, what do I look like? It's Sunday.
I'm sweating, so it's hot as balls here. So if you see me like fanning myself, that's me. So reality show over here. I'm like, oh, I'm getting some boob sweat, like so.
Oh yeah, it's cool. Okay. So anyway, please, if you haven't already, give us a like, a share, and a subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Telegram, Odyssey, BitChute, and we're on Rumble as well. Please, we're going to be migrating over to Rumble a lot more seriously as we're moving on, because YouTube is clearly not a good channel for us anymore. They keep striking us left, right, and center. So please find us on Rumble, because we are going to be making that our main account. God bless you all. Take good care of yourselves. And if you have, Brycey, give you lots and lots of love. Take good care of yourselves.